What's up, guys? Nevin Drabinsky joining you again to talk about UFC 2009 Undisputed Classic Fights mode. I'm joined by one of our designers, Wesley Bunn, who actually trains at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu under Eddie Bravo. So if you see Wes on the street, you watch yourself or you might get put in the twister.
I don't know about all that, man.
Anyway, Classic Fights lets us showcase some of the most epic matchups in UFC history and lets you as the player recreate them in the game. Each fight will be introduced by former Octagon girl Rochelle Leah, who we filmed at the UFC gym in Las Vegas. Now, it was a really tough ordeal for me having to decide which outfit Rochelle had to wear for each shot, but somehow, some way, we soldiered through it.
You know you want it.
After Rochelle's intro, we cut to the actual pre-fight montage footage, which brings you that much closer to the experience.
I love America!
Win the matchup with the correct fighter the way it happened in history, and you'll get a special reward, a highlight of the actual fight. It all goes to show that UFC 2009 Undisputed really is as real as it gets. Now, Wes, let's talk about some of the classic fights we have available in the game.
We can't talk classic fights without having Forrest Griffin versus Stephan Bonnar 1.
Oh, of course.
I mean, that fight put MMA in the US on the map, and it launched the UFC into the mainstream. When we came up with this mode, that was one of the first fights we thought of as it epitomized what the UFC is all about.
So, Griffin and Bonnar is an understandable choice. What's another classic fight that made the cut that was perhaps not so obvious?
You know, it was really hard to narrow it down, but another fight we felt was significant was the matchup between Anderson Silva and Dan Henderson back at UFC 82. This fight was to unify the Pride and UFC 185-pound titles, and on paper seemed to be a toss-up between two of the sport's best middleweights. In the end, Anderson Silva came out on top and proved why he is considered to be the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world today.
Forrest Griffin versus Stephan Bonnar and Anderson Silva versus Dan Henderson. Obviously, these are two fights which are definite classics in their own right. And interestingly enough, now we have Anderson Silva set to face Forrest Griffin at UFC 101.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting matchup right there. I can't wait to see it myself. And kudos goes to Joe Silva for setting that fight up. Anderson Silva is a very tough fighter, but Forrest Griffin has no quit in him. He's beaten the #1 ranked fighter in Mauricio Shogun Rua. Can he do it again and defeat a #1 ranked middleweight? And who knows, maybe in UFC 2010, we'll have a new classic fight on our hands.
Let's hope so. Until then, we hope you have fun reliving some of the most memorable UFC matchups of the past few years.